Today I'm checking in on none other than boxing great Manny Pacquiao. Born in Kibawe and raised in General Santos, Philippines, Emmanuel Dapidran Pacquiao Sr. has 5 children. And the only reason I bring this up is because 3 of them, well, they're blessed with somewhat unique names. I thought it was worth a mention. Let's see. We have Israel Pacquiao, Mary Divine Grace Pacquiao, Queen Elizabeth Pacquiao, and of course his other 2 not so uniquely named children, Emmanuel Pacquiao Jr. and Michael Pacquiao. I wonder if any of them will follow in their dad's footsteps and jump in the boxing ring. Here's something. Ever notice how his name seems to be synonymous with his boxing style? Now stick with me here on this. KO. I mean, Manny really packs a KO when he's boxing, literally, with his southpaw style and his unrelenting flurries of hard-hitting punches and his seemingly endless source of energy. KO. Pacquiao. Hey, he's left many boxers down for the count with his record of 11 KOs and 28 TKOs. But I'm not really finished poking fun at his name yet. So, since Mr. Pacquiao is a father, perhaps we should be calling him Papa Pacquiao. Hey? I just thought that one up. I just made it up myself. I mean, I don't think they call him Papa Pacquiao. But hey, maybe this could be a start of a new thing here. But now that I've thought about that, well, I kind of hope he doesn't hunt me down for saying that. I mean, it would be pretty cool to get a chance to meet Manny in person, but I wouldn't want him to beat the beans out of me, that's for sure. And if he sends his henchmen after me, at least get them to bring an autographed pair of boxing gloves, please. That would be good. But no, really. I mean, sure, I called him Papa Pacquiao. I don't think his kids call him that. Maybe around the house behind the prying eyes of the media in their private homestead. Maybe they do. But anyway, enough poking fun. I mean, we all know his fans, his friends, his devoted followers, they prefer to call him the one, the only, PacMan, right? Manny PacMan Pacquiao. And his story of how he got into boxing and the tough reality of his harsh childhood, I mean, that really should be made into a silver screen movie, if it hasn't already. I mean, seriously, I thought the story behind Rocky kind of pulled at the heartstrings. And on a side note, much like Rocky, but in real life, whenever Manny was out running during his training sessions, he would literally be joined by herds of his fans and supporters. They would all be there running along behind, running with him in real life. A story of how he got into the boxing and his life experience was literally a fight for survival. I mean, with grit and determination, Manny turned from living in poverty and not even knowing where he was going to get his next meal to being a super successful superstar boxer. It's a show of perseverance. Through all the rigor, the blood, the sweat, and the living boxing and breathing boxing and literally sleeping in boxing rings to earn money for food. Not just for himself either, but for his mother and his siblings. Sometimes Manny would even go up to 3 days without getting to eat a full meal. And in his own words, he would be drinking water and only to help himself feel full so he could focus on his boxing. And he speaks very humbly about his earlier life. I mean, think about it. With the status of Manny Pacquiao has excelled to, he could easily have become intoxicated with ego. He could be going out on frivolous spending sprees. But no, instead, he gave back to his family, to his people, his hometown, his nation. It's said that Manny Pacquiao during his boxing career, earned an estimated $500 million. $300 million of that $500 million he gave back to his community in one way or another. I mean, here's an example. In the aftermath of Typhoon Washi that hit the Serengeti province of Philippines back in 2011, which incidentally killed over 1,000 people and left many people homeless, Manny literally stepped up to the plate. He gave weeks of his personal time to help clean up after the aftermath of that typhoon. He donated more than $500,000 to the cause, and he covered the expense and invested more of his sweat equity into building 1,000 new homes for the people who were left homeless. And so, in honor of Manny, what did they do? These 1,000 homes, like a little village, they called it PacMan Village. What an honor. And it was back around when Manny was only about 14 when he left home. Now think about that. 14, leaving home to follow a career in boxing. I know I wasn't thinking of a career at 14, but he left 14, went to Manila to pursue his professional boxing. At the age of 16 years old, he had an incredible 60 wins and 4 losses. But Manny was like other very ambitious up-and-coming boxers, too young for the minimum age requirement for professional boxing. I mean, you need to be 18 to be able to get into the professional boxing. And so, like others before him, what did he do? Well, he lied about his age. But not only that, in this case, he actually had to lie about his weight as well. I mean, I didn't realize this until I did this research on Manny Pacquiao, but there is also a minimum weight requirement to be able to register for professional boxing. So he lied about his age. Check, got through that. And what did he do for his weight? Well, at weigh-in times, as he self-professes in the film documentary, The Rise of Manny Pacquiao, he would put metal in his pockets right down there at weigh-in time, just to bring him up to the minimum weight requirements. I mean, I suppose rules were a lot more lax back then, and you probably wouldn't be able to get away with that now. But talk about determination. From being homeless as a child to superstar, world-renowned boxer, and now potentially next president of the Philippines? Well, we'll find out about that on Monday coming up, actually. Monday, May 9th, 2022. So I've just basically date stamped this episode for you. But yeah, coming up on Monday is the presidential elections of the Philippines, and Manny is in the running for president. If you want to comment on this, by the way, I would love to see some comments below. Do you think he's worthy of being president? Should he even be running for president? Does he stand a chance? I mean, I haven't followed all of the other platforms of the other runners for president of the Philippines, but even if you look at the opinion polls, it's not very good looking for him. Although I got to admit, I haven't looked at these polls for a little while now, but the last time I looked, he was only hovering around 6 or 8% approval in the polls. But to Manny, his response to that, the poll numbers don't even faze him. He knows, he's very confident that the poor people and his followers, the poor people of Philippines and his avid followers, will be out in droves on election day voting for him. That's what he believes. So he's not even fazed by the opinion poll numbers, really. And he's working on there are some details to his platform, but really when you cut it down to the bare minimum, he's all about ridding the nation of corruption and eliminating poverty. And to see what Mr. Pacquiao has made of himself, is an absolutely inspiring life story. I mean, the whole world could take a lesson from this. And now to run for president of the Philippines after his rags to riches and his fighting career, all he's made of himself, and now to be potentially president? Hey, go PacMan! I mean, determination, perseverance, the rags to riches story without even being drawn into all the corruption and the drugs and everything else that he could have got drawn to. And the don't feed me no crap or I'll annihilate you kind of attitude he has with a desire to help the less fortunate. I mean, that sounds like perfect presidential material to me. But again, please drop some comments. Let me know what you think. I haven't really followed the platforms of any of the other presidential runners, so maybe I'm way off base in this. And I would love to hear opposing comments or comments that agree. And actually, if there's any main key points that I haven't brought up during this little session, I mean, there's so much to Manny Pacquiao. If there's something here you feel that I should have thrown in, please drop some lines below. Send me some info. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear if you oppose to him being president. I'd love to hear if you're for him being president. I'd just love to hear any more news about Manny Pacquiao himself. You may know a whole lot more in depth than I do. I would love to hear more about it. Here's an interesting tidbit. They say back in the Philippines, when Manny fought, the whole nation would watch. They would all stop what they were doing and watch the Manny fight. And it would draw so much attention that even the crime rates went down significantly while he was fighting. That's a pretty interesting point. For an awesome full coverage documentary on Manny Pacquiao, I would encourage you to watch this video I found on YouTube. It's called Manny Pacquiao PacMan, an original board film documentary. That's BORED film documentary. And with over 7.5 million views already, it seems like there's a lot of people that agree that it's definitely an interesting watch. And it really is an in-depth view of the Manny Pacquiao story. For somebody with a 5 foot, 5.5 inch stance, 8 title belts in 8 separate weight classes. I mean, he's a little small, short guy, but he packs a punch, and he's a force to be reckoned with. I mean, it sounds like somebody I might consider to vote as a president. But tell me your thoughts. Should he even be in the presidential running? I'd love to hear from you. Let me know. Drop me some lines. But he seems to be serious about his presidential run. He's quit boxing specifically for that. And the guy seems to be running on all cylinders. What an inspiration. And if you feel differently about that too, drop me some lines below. Let me know. And this is just a small glimpse into the life of Manny Pacquiao. I encourage you to check out talkinfight.com for more boxing news, more boxing videos, more information from more boxers. Talkinfight.com. And I look forward to being with you again somewhere down the road. But until then, happy to meet. Cheers.